film starts in 1999 and ends in 2017. And this is so the first 2 decades of the 21st century.
Yes. I'm not sure what to say about it. My previous film was a historical movie that was set at the early part of the 20th century, and it was about some of the events that sort of defined it. It was about some of the events leading up to the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. And after finishing that film, I thought it would be interesting to come back home to America and make a movie at home in the city I live in. I live in New York, and I thought it'd be interesting to make a movie about the beginning of the 21st century. I mean, it's sort of ambitious for 2 hours, but I thought I would do my best.
But this starts with some of the events that have, in a certain way, defined what we are living now. So kind of a reenactment of what happened in Columbine, and so it happens very often in the United States. So the massacre in a school.
Sure, yeah, and I'm from Colorado, so I was living a couple hours away from Columbine when that happened in the 90s. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a very good chance that when people talk about like if we were to put the last 20 years inside of a time capsule like Voyager 2 or something, that you would probably find inside of it Columbine, 9/11, and you know, if we skip the war, and it's still ongoing, and the 8 years of semi-reprieve from Obama, then we get to the year of the inauguration in 2017, and so yeah, that was the sort of framework for it.
And there is also the pop cultures and the pop culture, and
yeah, absolutely. So basically, like when you look at your Apple News updates, and you have probably right now an update about a shooting that just happened in Denver, also in Colorado. You have an update about the Kardashians or Ariana Grande cutting off her ponytail, but here's the thing. Of course, it's absurd. It's totally absurd, but it's very normal. It's like it's totally normal, and so it's disturbing because I had a kid. I have a 4.5-year-old daughter, and I honestly I don't understand what it is that she's inheriting, and I'm actually nervous about it. And but I'm sort of an optimist. Like, she seems a lot smarter than me already than I was at that age. So I don't know. I think she'll be okay. But still, it's a shame that my 4-year-old daughter, knows Donald Trump's name. So she's like, oh, that's Donald Trump. Yeah, indeed. Sorry, I'm very sick. I apologize.
But there's also this thing of the celebrity culture. Celeste is a product of this celebrity culture, but that's at the same time.
Exactly, but I think there's no separation between the culture and celebrity culture. Mm-hmm. Like, I think it's the same thing. There's no separation between politics and celebrity at all.
But even Trump is a product of celebrity culture.
Sure, so was Reagan. I mean, Reagan was also an actor.
But in this case, with the artists, they are at the same time kind of slaves to their audiences. They only are expected to do what the audiences expect them to do.
I feel like I'm a slave to the audience. I mean, it's hard to say. There are, of course, exceptions to the rule. There are some super talented pop stars that just have big dreams and they succeeded, you know. But it's normally a pretty corporate thing, you know. It's sort of it's something which is manufactured. It's a group of executives that decide on a style and a sound for a particular artist. But it's been that way for a long time. I mean, Scott Walker, who did the score, who's a great composer, started off in a boy band in the 60s, the Walker Brothers. And that was also kind of, something completely manufactured because none of them were called Walker and none of them were brothers. But the thing is that he is a great example of the fact that it doesn't mean that just because it wasn't an incredibly pure work of art, that there weren't incredibly pure and great artists and artisans that were a part of making these corporate things. I mean, every single filmmaker I know, including myself, you know, like, we don't make money from making movies. I could never support myself with the wage I made from this film. So, you know, we go and try to apply our talents to selling stuff in our off time. She wrote 9 original songs for the film. But she's kind of unusual because she's an adult, you know, she's over 40 years old, and she's sort of a faceless pop star who writes music for other people. So she is one of those exceptions to the rule. She writes her own songs. She's extremely prolific and very, very talented, and, you know, has just got an ear for it. So, you know, but yeah, I mean, it is a strange thing though, because, you know, while we were making the soundtrack for this film, because the soundtrack was produced by Britney Spears, producer, and Taylor Swift, all the producers of these records, and they're all, you know, super bright, and they really, you know, they really understand what it is that they're doing, but, you know, they're just so damn good at it, and they get paid a lot of money for it.
And you dedicated the film to Jonathan Demme. Was he an influence?
Yeah, I mean, sure, absolutely. Jonathan was an influence on the film. But also, Jonathan, my last film, he awarded a really meaningful prize to my film, and we got to know each other after that. We'd never met, so I got to know him in the last couple of years of his life, and we talked about this film, and he didn't get to see it, and I think if anybody would have liked it, I think he might have liked it.
And he also made many films, not only about musicians, but he filmed concerts. And I remember when he was here in 2015, he showed us, for some friends, extra program, a film he had making with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah. And I saw the same film. Yeah. I mean, it's.
Did it influence you, for instance, for the final show of Celeste?
Yeah.
And the way you filmed it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we shot it like a real concert. So there's kind of no mise en scène, you know. I mean, the movie's over at that point. It's just a concert. There's like a tiny bit of movie at the end, but it's mostly just a concert. But that's how it was supposed to be. It was supposed to be without drama. It was like a procedural at the end. Everyone's waiting for the concert, and then there's the concert.
And you shot in 35 millimeter.
Yeah, we shot. Unfortunately, everyone saw DC Pizza Night, which is also a bit off. So if you liked the film and could bear to watch it again, we are screening the film on 35 millimeter in a lot of places. So you should come and look at it again, because it's much more beautiful. It doesn't look like a big laptop. And
we can do it here.
I know. It's not their fault. It's my fault.
Thank you so much for coming. I love the film, and I guess my first question is regarding the violence and how it's portrayed in the film. And there seems to be, especially currently, a very nature of self-destruction in celebrities, especially celebrities attached to music like Kanye West, where they become bigger than life, and the only thing they can do now is just explode. And I guess my question is regarding the construction of this character of Celeste and that nature of self-destruction regarding both the violence in society that she experiences and the violence within herself regarding a job.
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like that about the culture. Like, it's like the culture can only take so much, so it feels like it's about to explode, or maybe it already has. You know, the coasts are kind of eating themselves. But I don't know. I mean, here's the thing: the film uses these sort of rise and fall cliches in an effort to subvert them, because I don't really have very many opinions about celebrities being self-destructive. I think human beings are self-destructive. And of course, if you're really tired and you do, 250 nights on the road, which many of these people do, I would be shooting heroin in between my toes. So I think that there's like, the idea was this. So okay, so in if we live at a moment in time where facts matter a lot less than they used to, and that when something would be or could be or should be shocking is no longer shocking, it robs one's life of feeling anything about anything. It's anarchy and totally nihilistic. So I thought, okay, what happens when you have a melodrama, like an old-fashioned melodrama with the cliches of a melodrama, but inside of a moment in time when there's no such thing as drama, because there are no stakes, because everything is out the window. So the idea was that the film sort of devolves, like it becomes more and more meaningless as it goes. So in the very beginning, you have a strong sense of humanity, of feeling that's very strong, and that it kind of dissipates. And then at the end, it just kind of rolls out. And it's not because I feel like we're all doomed or anything. But I know that that's all of the information that we have so far. So it kind of ends at a little bit of a tragic moment, because we haven't found our way out of it yet.
Hi, I hope you get well over your jet lag, and
I'm getting on a plane tomorrow, so I'm fucked.
My question is, since you chose to talk about so many strong topics and with so many mainstream leads, what do you think or what do you hope will be the impact your movie will have on society and our culture?
I mean, I don't know. It's a good question. I just have no idea. It's not up to me. I made it. Maybe 10 people will see it. Well, tonight more than 10 people have seen it, so we're off to a good start. You can't start that way. I mean, you're completely fucked. I was saying to Antonio that there's something kind of funny, which is that I recently went into a meeting with a big kind of television streaming company, and they were like, they have these figures. They're like, if you make your new film with us, 11 million people will see it or something. I was like, what does that mean? I mean, 11 million people. It's beyond my imaging. So it doesn't matter to me. It's fantastic if 100 people see it or 50 people see it, or at least enough people see it that the cost of it is somewhat justified. So I don't know. I hope that when the film's over, that people just have a long conversation on the way home.
Hello. Could I see that this movie is like a fairy tale? Like it starts from like a story of America in these last few years that we all saw on television and saw on cinemas also here in this side of Europe. But just a little thing. Do you hate journalists? Because journalists are badly portrayed in your movie, and we feel sorry for the other side, which is not happening now in America. We don't feel sorry for the other side.
Do I seem like I hate journalists?
No, but in the movie, was that an option to put in the movie?
No,
Or
I mean,
do
listen,
you look at
I have sympathy for the character, and she hates journalists because they've ruined her life. But the thing is that the character is like a very, very Trumpy character, who is really, is self-soothing with the notion. Her sister says, "Oh, honey, don't worry about them. They've never done anything they're proud of," and she's like, "Yes, that's right." It's a joke. So no, of course I don't hate journalists, and but I do think that the media has a major responsibility, which unfortunately I think a lot of editors are neglecting. I have a bigger problem with the editors of many mainstream papers than I do with anyone that they employ or anyone that writes for them. Because, and I understand the position they're in, because they need a certain number of views and whatever, but I mean the headlines they're pretty brutal. Like they're pretty unacceptable and debased and sort of beneath us, even from very mainstream legitimate papers. But no, it's like if I made a movie about a serial killer. No, I don't condone killing people.
Thank you for the opportunity to watch the movie and to be here with us for this Q&A. What I wanted to say is the really first shocking moment of the movie, the moment of the shooting. For me, it totally defined the tone and the political tone that for me you want to give to the movie. This is more than just a story for me. This is it felt like a political statement actually, towards gun control in America, towards violence in schools. You read the news every so often. And I have actually two questions for you. The first one is whether you think that the public space in America is void of meaning, and whether the space for politics has been completely void, and now maybe the arts and cinema can take the place of politics. It's obvious for me that you have a very strong opinion on Trump, for instance, your president. It's obvious for me that you have also a very strong opinion on journalism being made on America and fake news. And for me as an European, and I feel like America has been going through a process of deconstruction of meaning and at all stages, namely political. And yeah, your movie feels political, and I want to ask you if cinema is a new ground to do politics in America, which I felt like your movie just did.
I mean, I wish, but probably not. I hope so. It's an optimistic thing, but probably not. In fact, tonight, it's because I'm very tired and because I was very disturbed by this headline that I'm even talking about Trump. It's not something I normally talk about when I talk about the movie. It just was really disturbing and disheartening to see that a minute or so before I came in. You know, I have high hopes. I can't even say that I'm optimistic, but I have high hopes, and it's just that, you know, empires fall, and America is very young. It's a little bit of a good lesson, you know, for everybody, that it is fragile. It's more fragile than I think anyone had realized. Certainly in my lifetime, anyone realized. But I don't know. I think cinema. I mean, it's all related. I mean, it's all part of a big conversation. So I think that a conversation can turn into, you know, a riot. So we'll see. But I absolutely only made the film to reflect some anxiety and some frustration, some curiosity, and also to sort of reflect on the fact that I'm also very seduced by all of these things which are produced to kind of distract me. I mean, I like them. I like pop music. I listen to it. It's my daughter. She loves pop music, and she's not, you know, sitting around listening to Tchaikovsky. She's listening to Michael Jackson, but I do think that there is something strange about the fact that our pop cultural figures sort of have such a strong political voice and impact on elections and things, and that's interesting.
The second question actually was related to the pop industry you have in your country, and I was wondering if it can act as an important way of public catharsis on these sort of shocking events that sometimes happen in America. Whether pop culture can be a way of public catharsis as well, and on.
Sure, I mean,
on commenting on reality.
I think anytime people get together to experience something together, it can be very a really human experience. I mean, I've definitely fallen even more deeply in love with people that I was in a relationship with at concerts and stuff. You know, I mean, it's an emotional thing to listen to a song. You know, I don't think that that's what this film's thesis is. But the reason that there's a lot of books on a shelf is because of the fact that it's really impossible to encompass every idea or all of the possibilities or plausibilities, or why, you know, Nietzsche was constantly contradicting himself, but in a fascinating way. I think when I read something or I watch something or I listen to something, I just want to. You know, I don't go to a book for a didactic kind of purpose just to learn from it. I go to experience it, and I don't necessarily take away from it whatever its thesis was. Sometimes I just take away the experience of having read it, and it makes my life richer and more profound.
Hello. One of the things that is very impactful in your movie is the very chameleonic roles of Natalie Portman and Jude Law. And I was wondering if you could give us some insight of the experience of giving them their directions, and I was like hearing how was the experience of shooting the movie with them.
It was, honestly, it was great. And everything else about making the movie sucked. So, I mean, it took many years to raise money for the film. The money fell through over and over and over and over again. I felt like I was making a first film all over again. But you know, once everybody was there, the thing that's amazing about people that are really, you know, famous for doing good work is that they do really good work, so they make everything really easy. It's the one thing that was kind of a breeze. And I mean, Honestly, I had only good experiences with everyone in the cast. Everyone was really game and trying stuff. It was very experimental and it was very theatrical. I mean, a very strange kind of performance. Like, it's like the idea was to evoke like screwball comedies and stuff from like another era and stuff in the second half of the film especially. And it required some trust and some desire to experiment a little bit. So no, that was really interesting and really good.
Hello, thank you for being with us tonight and for this amazing movie. I would
Thanks.
like to know what you think the role of the media is in this growing culture of violence.
I'm so sorry. No, I'm sorry. I just don't. It's such a big question, and I think that an answer would require some chapters. I mean, the role of the media is only to report it, not to embellish it, not to seduce an audience, to report it.
Do you think they are responsible for what is happening?
No.
Hi, thanks for being here. I was wondering how you're feeling about the midterm results. In a way, pop culture kind of worked well in that. Taylor Swift, for example.
I would be a terrible pundit.
Oh, well, I'm not asking you as a pundit, just like as a person.
I feel bad. I opened up this can of worms.
Yeah, it's your fault.
Here's the thing. Everybody in this room agrees with me. So there's, I'm really preaching to the choir. I feel, okay about it.
Hopeful, maybe, or not really?
Sort of.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, look, we have some good news,
Yeah,
a little bit of good news.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just it's going to be a
cautious,
while.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no worries. I didn't mean to be sarcastic about it. I just realized that probably people are not that interested in how I feel about politics.
Hi, hello. I wanted to know what was it like making this movie in contrast to making your first movie? What did you learn?
They were both so miserable. There are obviously there's something that keeps me coming back, but they were both really tough. They were both had a very far reach and a very small budget and things like that. But that's the stuff you hear from everybody. I just decided on my second film that I would try to be even more brave, like really dare to suck more, and it's important. I mean, you can't color in the lines all the time. Many of my favorite movies I've ever seen are not perfect movies. I mean, I don't know what a perfect movie or a perfect anything really is, but I know that so many of the things that really speak to me, they transcend whatever I thought a movie could be. So I thought, okay, well, let's just do whatever the movie wants to do, as opposed to whatever I want to do and whatever I'm comfortable with. And the results vary, but it mostly works.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for being here. I know you're not feeling well, and you're just off a plane, and you're very vulnerable on stage with all these people asking you questions. So thank you. You're doing a great job. The movie's amazing. Thank you for making it. My question is, how did you manage to snag the elusive Scott Walker for your...
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot. That's super nice. I'm totally fine. Don't worry. I'm not gonna die.
Don't fall over.
I just have a cold. I do feel vulnerable, but it's mostly because I just haven't slept a lot. And normally I'd be more delightful. Or I'd try to be. So Scott did the score for my last film, and I wrote him a letter 7 years ago, and I asked him to do the music for the film, and he said yes, and it was just one of those things where one of your heroes that you really want to work with says yes, and so I've been very fortunate. I mean, now he is my partner.
Must be a very good feeling.
Yeah, no, and
Yes.
he also comes at a really important moment when you feel like shit because you're very tired and you're just in conflict with everybody, and just because that's the nature of making something, which is that you wanna get along with everybody, but it's absolutely impossible because everybody has different agendas, and your agenda as the filmmaker is just to try to make something excellent. That maybe lasts longer than just the season. Maybe it lasts like, you know, a little longer than that. And so Scott, you know, he's a real punk. He's in his late 70s, and he has got more energy than I have, and he makes me feel really brave in a time when I don't feel very brave when I'm finishing something.
Maybe you do the same for him.
You would have to ask him, but he's very hard to reach.
I know. I try.
Boa noite. Good evening in Portuguese.
Hi.
And welcome. And
Sorry, I was looking in the wrong place.
Thank you very much.
Fuck, you popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah. You were dying too, yeah, and I was too, yeah. I thought I would. I kind of half asked the question because I didn't know if I was going to get it. But the question about the media, you may remember Natural Born Killers, Oliver Stone, which influenced me a lot when I was in a psychiatric institution, and I wrote a parallel, slightly different version of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest called Coming Through. I was 5 years in those places, right? So it's quite serious. That was, and I sent it to him. And when I watched Natural Born Killers, and when I watched the way people are behaving today, I mean, I've written a diary this afternoon, or this evening when I was eating before I came here, of some of the coercive, forceful, bullying behaviors which have become every day now and written off and not challenged and not perceived to be wrong, it seems. And I think from smaller crime grows bigger crime. So
I agree.
When people walk into here late and kick the seat behind me and start fidgeting here with their feet, doing a little dance thing, I moved over there. But I think we've got a problem in the, well, I'm asking you about the influence of the media really, not to back up the first questioner, but I agree with the problem of omission, but surely, would you say the media needs to come out and talk about us starting to bring some rules and discipline into society so that people start to really consider the difference between wrong and right, even in simple interactions like how you share a space? Because I think this space between us, for me, that's an environmental argument. And if somebody forces through a space, when I was there first, for instance, then that's already a kind of aggression and a competitive behavior. I don't think the reason they're doing it is capitalism. I think it's because they feel really insecure and very unrecognized. How do you feel about the way people are behaving generally in society, please?
I mean, frankly, I agree with all of your sentiments. I mean, I do. I mean, it's too easy to blame anything on one thing. And also, we're all so connected now that I agree with you that you can't just say, oh, it's capitalism. You know, and I've lived in a lot of different countries, and my wife is Norwegian, and I had my baby in Norway, you know, there's good things and bad things about both ways of living. In an extremely utopian socialist society, there's big problems that are too complicated for me to get into tonight. And there's even bigger problems at home in America, but we chose to live in America. We actually, after living in many, many different cities and different continents, decided to go home. So I would say that I must be something of an optimist because I choose to live in New York City, because I think that New York City is the greatest city in the world. And I don't know why I think that, but I feel it in my bones. Although Lisbon is becoming a close second. Thanks, everyone.